The laughter started before the lights fully turned on. It echoed through the long public hall of Station Helier, sharp and careless, bouncing off metal walls dressed in silver banners. The station was preparing for its first shared Christmas gathering, but the mood was far from warm. Many species walked past the center table with looks of doubt. Some slowed only to laugh. At the far end of the hall, a human stood alone. His name was Terran Holt. He wore a faded work jacket with grease marks on the sleeves. His hands were rough, fingers nicked with small cuts. On the table in front of him sat a collection of small ornaments. They were simple. Too simple for a place filled with gold, crystal, and ancient power. The ornaments were made from scrap metal rings, polished glass shards, and thin wires pulled from broken drones. Some held tiny glowing cores, softly pulsing like stars. Others were shaped like snowflakes, stars, and small circles meant to hang from branches that did not exist here. A group of traders stopped and stared. "Is that all?" one of them said, his voice filled with humor. "Humans celebrate with trash now?" Another laughed. Terran kept his eyes on the table. He adjusted one ornament that leaned slightly to the side. He said nothing. Around him, the hall filled with sound. Dragonkin guards walked past, their scales reflecting the lights. Nobles from distant systems spoke loudly about gifts worth planets. For them, Christmas was just another event, another show of wealth. Terran had no wealth to show. He had worked on the station for 8 years. He cleaned vents, fixed broken doors, and recycled damaged parts no one else wanted. Every year, when the station grew colder during this season, he remembered Earth. He remembered quiet nights, small lights, and warmth that did not come from power cores. So he made ornaments. He did it in secret, late at night after his shifts ended. He shaped them slowly, carefully. Each one held a memory, a laugh, a loss, a promise to survive one more year. He placed them on the table because the notice board said, "All cultures may share their traditions." He believed that line. A pair of young officers stopped in front of the display. One picked up an ornament shaped like a star. "It's light," the officer said, confused. "Cheap too," the other replied, setting it down. "Why would anyone wear this?" They walked away laughing. Terran felt his chest tighten, but his face stayed calm. He had expected this. Humans were known for many things in the galaxy, but beauty was not one of them. Power was measured in size, fire, and age. Handmade things meant nothing here. Still he stayed. Across the hall, high above the crowd, someone watched. Princess Sailora of the Dragon Clan stood on a raised platform with her attendants. Her scales were pale silver, her eyes calm and sharp. She was young for a dragon royal, but her presence made others step back without knowing why. She had been listening to reports, half bored, until she noticed the laughter. Her gaze followed the sound and landed on the small table. At first she saw only a human. Weak, plain, forgettable. Then she saw the ornaments. They were not bright like dragon jewels. They did not shine with ancient magic. Yet something about them pulled her attention. The glow inside one flickered softly, uneven, like a heartbeat. She frowned slightly. "What are those?" she asked. An attendant glanced over. "Human decorations, Your Grace." "Homemade. Worthless." Sailora did not reply. Her eyes stayed on the human. Terran picked up an ornament that had rolled to the edge of the table. His hands moved with care as if it could break from a rough touch. For a moment, his shoulders lowered and something heavy crossed his face. Sadness. Sailora had seen warriors die without that look. She felt a strange pause inside her chest. Down below, a dragon merchant stopped in front of Terran. His scales were dark red, his voice loud. "You made these?" the dragon asked. "Yes," Terran replied quietly. "Why?" the dragon said. "They have no value." Terran looked up for the first time. His eyes were tired but steady. "They matter to me," he said. The dragon snorted. "That is not how value works." He walked away. The hall grew louder. Music systems activated. Lights brightened. The Christmas event moved forward without Terran's table being acknowledged. Other displays drew crowds. Expensive gifts. Powerful symbols. Terran stood there unseen. He reached into his pocket and pulled out one final ornament. This one was different. Smaller. The glass was cracked but repaired with thin gold wire. Inside, the glow was warm, not bright. He held it in his palm for a long moment. This one was never meant for the table. He had made it for someone who would never see it. A memory of home. As he placed it gently among the others, he did not notice the shadow fall across the table. Sailora had descended from the platform. The noise around them faded in her ears. She stood close now, close enough to see the tiny marks on Terran's fingers, the care in every shape. She did not speak. She reached out. Her claw hovered over the cracked ornament. Terran's breath caught. The hall seemed to hold still. And for the first time that night no one laughed. Silence followed her movement. The crowd did not notice at first, but the feeling changed. Conversations slowed. Laughter weakened. A cold awareness spread through the hall as the dragon princess stepped closer to the human table. Her name was Illithra Vossarin. She was known across the station as someone who watched more than she spoke. Her scales were a soft white blue, smooth and clean, marked with thin lines of silver that showed her royal blood. Her eyes were old for her age, trained to see lies, threats and weakness. She saw something else now. The human before her froze. His name was Riven Call, a station recycler assigned to lower maintenance decks. He had only agreed to place his ornaments on the table after much doubt. Now regret filled his chest. A dragon princess standing this close was never a good sign. He lowered his gaze. Illithra did not command him to look up. She studied the ornaments in silence. They were uneven. Some were not perfectly shaped. One glowed more than the others. Another flickered softly as if struggling to stay lit. None of them followed any known dragon design rules. They were not symmetrical. They were not powerful. Yet they felt alive. She reached toward one but stopped short. Dragons were taught not to touch without reason. She searched her thoughts for a reason. There was none that made sense. Still she stayed. Around them the event continued. Music played. Noble voices rose and fell. Yet an invisible space formed around the table, as if instinct warned others to keep distance. Riven's hands trembled slightly. He clasped them together to stop it. "I can remove them," he said softly. "If they do not belong here." His voice was calm but his heart was not. Illithra finally looked at him. Her gaze was direct but not cruel. "Why did you make them?" she asked. The question surprised him. No one had asked before. Not the officers. Not the traders. Not the nobles who laughed. "I don't know," he said at first. Then he paused. "That's not true," he added quietly. "I do know." He looked at the ornaments, not at her. "Humans don't live very long," he said. "We forget things fast. These help us remember." Illithra tilted her head slightly. "Remember what?" Riven swallowed. "Warmth," he said. "People. Moments that didn't last." The words were simple, but something in them struck her. Dragon history was carved into stone and fire. Dragons did not forget. They recorded. They preserved. Loss was honored through power and memory stones. Humans used scrap and light. She felt something tighten inside her chest. "Do they have a purpose?" she asked. "Yes," Riven replied. "They're meant to be worn. Or hung. Or passed on. It doesn't matter how. What matters is that someone keeps it." Illithra glanced at the cracked ornament near the center. "This one," she said. "Why is it broken?" Riven hesitated. "It was damaged," he said. "I fixed it the best I could." "That is not what I asked," she said gently. He took a breath. "It broke once," he said. "I couldn't throw it away." A pause followed. Illithra slowly reached out and touched the ornament. The glow warmed instantly. Her eyes widened just a fraction. Dragon artifacts reacted only to blood, magic, or command. This thing reacted to touch. Not her power. Her presence. She withdrew her claw slowly. Around them, a few nearby nobles noticed. Whispers began. A dragon princess touching a human object without permission was unheard of. An elder dragon stepped forward, his voice low and sharp. "Your Grace," he said. "These items are not appropriate for royal attention." Illithra did not look at him. "Why?" she asked. "They are meaningless," the elder replied. "They hold no history." She finally turned to face him. "They hold a history," she said. "Just not ours." The elder stiffened but said nothing. Riven felt dizzy. He had never heard a dragon speak that way about humans. Illithra looked back at the table. "How long did you make these?" she asked. "At night," Riven said. "After work. Over many weeks." "You were tired?" she said. "Yes." "Yet you continued." "Yes." She straightened slowly. That, more than anything, stayed with her. Dragons trained for centuries. Humans created while exhausted, unseen, and mocked. She stepped back from the table. "I will watch," she said. Riven blinked. "Watch what?" "What you do when no one praises you," she replied. She turned and walked away. The crowd slowly returned to sound. Music filled the space again. Laughter tried to come back but it felt forced now. Riven stood frozen, unsure if any of it had been real. From the balcony above, Illithra paused. She touched the spot at her throat where a royal crest usually rested. For the first time in her long life, she wondered what it would mean to wear something fragile. And below her, the human continued to stand by his table, unaware that the galaxy had just begun to look at him differently. The station grew quieter in the days that followed. Not silent but heavy. News screens showed images from a distant human colony near the outer rim. A border conflict had ended badly. A small settlement was lost. No names were listed yet, but everyone knew what that meant. For humans, distance did not soften loss. On Deck 7, a human technician named Merrick Solon sat alone in a narrow workroom. Tools lay untouched beside him. In front of him was a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Inside were ornaments. He had not planned to show them again. After the laughter, after the looks, he thought it was better to stop. But he kept making them anyway. His hands moved on their own during sleepless nights. Each ornament was different. None were perfect. He worked slower now. Across the station, far above the maintenance decks, Princess Eltheria Noxie stood in a quiet observation chamber. The room was dark except for the stars outside the wide window. She had ordered privacy, something rare for a dragon royal. On a table before her rested a single ornament. She had taken it without asking. It was light. Almost fragile. A thin ring of metal held a small glow crystal inside. The light pulsed softly like a calm breath. Eltheria had examined it for hours. No magic seal. No hidden weapon. No ancient mark. Yet it resisted being ignored. She touched it again. The glow warmed. That troubled her. Dragon objects responded to power or command. This responded to care. She summoned an aide. "What do humans do when they lose a world?" she asked. The aide hesitated. "They mourn, your grace. Then they rebuild." "And when they cannot rebuild?" "They remember," the aide said. "They tell stories. They make small things." Eltheria dismissed her. Memory. Dragons carved memory into stone so it would never fade. Humans shaped memory into things that could break. What? Below, Merrick stood before a small notice board. A new order blinked on the screen. The shared Christmas event would continue. Attendance was encouraged. Displays could be updated. He almost turned away. Instead, he placed the bundle of ornaments in his arms and walked. The hall felt different now. Fewer laughs. More quiet glances. Some species avoided the human display, not out of mockery but uncertainty. Merrick arranged the ornaments slowly. A group of human workers stopped nearby. One of them stared. "My brother had one like that," the worker said softly, pointing at a small star shape. "Back on Luna?" Merrick nodded. He did not ask questions. Another human reached out but did not touch. "They don't look strong," she said. "They aren't," Merrick replied. "They're meant to be kept close." Above them, unseen, Eltheria watched through a silent lens. She saw how humans gathered without command. How they lowered their voices. How they did not explain the meaning of the ornaments, even to their own kind. The meaning was not for words. An elder dragon entered the chamber. "You continue to observe them," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," Eltheria replied. "They suffered a loss," the elder said. "That explains their behavior." "No," she said. "It does not explain their response." The elder frowned. "They create objects during grief," she continued. "Objects with no value." The elder nodded. "Correct. They do not sell them," she said. "They do not display them proudly. They do not even protect them well." "So?" the elder asked. Eltheria turned. "They trust someone else to carry the weight." The elder was silent. Later that cycle, the station lights dimmed for rest hours. Merrick remained at the table, packing the ornaments away. He thought of stopping. Of throwing them back into scrap. He picked up one ornament shaped like a simple ring. Inside it was a small chip etched with a human date. He closed his hand around it. A shadow fell across the table. He looked up. Eltheria stood there, alone. "I did not ask permission," she said. "But I took one." Merrick felt his throat tighten. "That's okay," he said. "They're meant to be taken." "Why?" she asked. He thought for a long moment. "Because humans don't trust forever," he said. "We trust moments." She studied his face. "You lost someone," she said. "Yes." "And you did not carve their name into stone." "No," he said. "Stone lasts longer than we do." "That is the point," she said. "For dragons," Merrick replied. Silence stretched between them. Eltheria placed the ornament back on the table. "I will return it later," she said. For now, I only wanted to understand. You don't have to, Merrick said. She paused. But I want to, she replied. As she turned away, Merrick spoke again. They laughed because they thought it was small, he said. But small things survive when big ones fall. Eltheria did not answer. But when she reached the corridor, she closed her claw gently around the ornament she still carried. For the first time in centuries, a dragon princess carried something she could lose. And she did not look away from that truth. The hall was louder than it had ever been. Music echoed across the wide space. Lights shimmered in colors chosen by dragon artists and alien designers. Noble guests filled the air with proud voices. This was meant to be the highest moment of the gathering. And yet something felt wrong. At the edge of the hall, a human named Karen Dax stood behind a narrow table. His shoulders were tense. His hands rested near a small cloth, covering objects no one had asked to see today. He almost left. Laughter drifted from the center of the room, sharp and careless. A group of nobles pointed toward the human table. He's back again, one said. With those little things, another replied. Humans never learn. Karen heard every word. He unfolded the cloth anyway. Small ornaments appeared under the bright lights. Rings, stars, fragile shapes glowing softly. They looked even smaller now, surrounded by power and wealth. A few guests laughed openly. Karen felt heat rise to his face, but he did not move. He remembered why he made them. He remembered cold nights and empty rooms. He stayed. Then the music stopped. It was not planned. The silence spread slowly, like a wave moving through the hall. Conversations broke off. Heads turned toward the entrance. Heavy footsteps echoed. A dragon princess entered alone. Her name was Venrissa Aerith. She wore no crown. No armor. Her scales were deep pearl, reflecting the light softly instead of burning it back. Her posture was calm, controlled. At her throat, hanging from a thin silver chain, was something no one expected. A small human ornament. The laughter died instantly. Whispers rushed through the crowd, sharp and confused. That is human-made, someone said. Why would she wear that? Is it some kind of insult? Venrissa walked forward without haste. Each step carried weight. Dragon nobles stepped aside without thinking. Karen froze. His heart pounded so hard he felt dizzy. He recognized the ornament. A ring with a cracked glass center repaired with thin wire. His hands began to shake. Venrissa stopped in front of the gathering platform. She turned slowly, allowing everyone to see. This gathering celebrates unity, she said. Her voice was steady, clear. Yet laughter has been used as a weapon. No one spoke. She raised a claw and touched the ornament at her throat. You mock these, she continued, because they are small. Because they are fragile. Her gaze moved across the room, resting briefly on Karen. You believe strength must be loud, she said. You believe value must be ancient. She paused. You are wrong. A murmur passed through the hall. This object, Venrissa said, lifting the ornament slightly, was made without command. Without reward. Without promise of recognition. She looked at the dragon elders. It was made while tired. While grieving. While unseen. Her eyes narrowed just slightly. Tell me, she said, how many of our great relics were forged that way? No one answered. Venrissa turned back to the crowd. Humans do not carve memory into stone because stone does not feel loss, she said. They carry memory so it can be shared. She faced Karen now. Human, she said. Why do you make these? Karen swallowed hard. Every eye was on him. So we don't forget, he said quietly. Forget what? Venrissa asked. That we survived, he replied. That someone cared once. Silence followed. Not the empty kind. The heavy kind. Venrissa nodded once. That, she said, is strength. She turned toward the elders. From this moment, she said, human creations will not be dismissed on this station. Their value will be judged by meaning, not size. An elder dragon stepped forward, uneasy. Your Grace, he said, this is highly unusual. So was laughing at grief, Venrissa replied. The elder fell silent. Venrissa unclasped the chain and removed the ornament. She walked to Karen's table and placed it gently among the others. I wore it so you would listen, she said. Now remember it. Karen's vision blurred. He nodded, unable to speak. Around them guests stood still. Some lowered their heads. Others looked at the ornaments again, really looked for the first time. A young alien stepped forward hesitantly. May I take one? They asked. Karen blinked. Yes, he said. That's why they're here. Another followed. Then another. No one laughed. Venrissa stepped back into the crowd. The music slowly returned, softer now. Conversations resumed, but their tone had changed. From the shadows, the dragon princess watched. She touched the bare space at her throat. For the first time in her life, she had removed a symbol of power and felt stronger without it. And across the hall, a human stood taller than he ever had, surrounded not by praise, but by understanding. The laughter never came back. The station did not return to normal. It changed quietly. In the days after the gathering, something small began to spread. Not orders. Not laws. Not speeches. Questions. Visitors paused longer near human workspaces. Some asked about the ornaments. Others simply watched humans work in silence, noticing things they had never cared to see before. A human named Olin Mar continued his duties on Deck 5. He repaired wall panels, cleaned air filters, and sorted scrap into bins marked for reuse. Nothing about his routine was special. Except for one thing. Around his neck hung a simple ornament. It was not the one the dragon princess had worn. It was another, shaped like a circle with a soft light inside. He wore it under his uniform most of the time, but sometimes it slipped into view. People noticed. An insectoid engineer stopped him one shift. "That object," the engineer said, clicking softly. "Is it a symbol of rank?" Olin shook his head. "No." "Then what does it represent?" Olin thought for a moment. "It reminds me to keep going." The engineer considered this and walked away without another word. 2 cycles later, that same engineer wore a small metal loop on one limb. It had no glow. No meaning to anyone else. But it was kept close. In the upper levels, Princess Sareth Valine stood before a council of dragon elders. She listened as reports were delivered. Trade updates. Security status. Cultural exchanges. One report stood out. "Human ornament requests have increased," an elder said. "Multiple species have begun creating personal tokens inspired by them." Sareth's expression remained calm. "Is this a problem?" she asked. "They are fragile," the elder replied. "They will break." "Yes," Sareth said. "They will." She paused. "And they will be remade." The elder did not argue. Later, Sareth walked alone through a quiet corridor. She was not wearing the ornament anymore. She did not need to. She remembered the weight of it. The way it felt warm without heat. The way it meant nothing to power and everything to memory. She had ordered something new. Not a decree. A space. A small room near the central hall was cleared. No guards. No display cases. Just hooks on the walls and soft lighting. A sign at the entrance read, "Leave something that matters." No name was attached. The first item placed there was human. A small ornament shaped like a star, scratched and uneven. Then another appeared. A woven band from a water world. A carved stone from a species that had lost its home planet. A broken gear polished smooth by careful hands. No one laughed. On a lower deck, Olin finished his shift and stood before the room for the first time. He hesitated, then reached into his pocket. He held an ornament he had never shown anyone. It was older than the others. The light inside was faint. The metal ring was bent. He placed it on an empty hook. He did not explain why. He did not need to. Weeks passed. The station's first shared Christmas season ended. Decorations were removed. Banners were stored. Life continued. But the room stayed. So did the habit. Across the galaxy, stories traveled. Not fast. Not loudly. But steadily. On a mining colony, workers exchanged small tokens before dangerous shifts. On a trade ship, a captain wore a fragile charm instead of a medal. On a dragon world, a young scholar began carving memory into wood instead of stone. They did not call it human tradition. They called it remembrance. Olin never became famous. No one wrote songs about him. He did not stand on stages or speak to crowds. He kept working. One evening, as the station lights dimmed, a message appeared on his console. It was short. "Thank you for reminding us." No signature. Olin leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. He felt tired. But it was a good kind of tired. He reached for the ornament at his neck and held it in his palm. Somewhere far away, a dragon princess looked out at the stars and thought of something small she once wore. Somewhere else, a child from another species asked why their parents kept a broken object close. And the answer was always simple. Because it mattered. The galaxy would remember many things. Wars. Empires. Flames and victories. But it would also remember this. That when humans were laughed at, they did not answer with force. They answered with meaning. And that was enough.